Hi, everyone. I am Daron Spielman. Today is November 12th, 2024. This is the live daily briefing of the Israeli Citizen Spokesperson's Office. We are live today on Instagram, X, YouTube, and LinkedIn, and available afterwards wherever you get your podcasts. Please start submitting questions in the chat, and as always, like and subscribe. This really helps us reach a wider audience. This morning, Hezbollah, Iran's terrorist army in Lebanon, launched an Iranian drone full of explosives at Israel's people. Where did they aim? Hezbollah aimed the drone into a preschool, children 2 and 3 years old in Haifa, where it exploded. There was no warning siren, everything happened so quickly. The teachers did receive an emergency alert on their phones that there were sirens that had gone off in nearby areas, and while they weren't sure where that killer drone was headed, the teachers decided not to wait until the danger was closer. They took initiative. They grabbed the children and rushed them into bomb shelters. Their decision saved countless lives. According to Israel's Air Force, 1,300 suicide drones like this one have been launched at Israel since the start of the October 7th war. If anyone wants to understand why Israel is in Lebanon, it is because every one of those rockets, those drones, those missile attacks are aimed at a family, at a preschool, at innocent Israeli people. What would you do? The rocket fire from Hezbollah continues. Yesterday, there were over 165 rockets fired by Hezbollah from Lebanon. Hezbollah is down, there's no question. I've seen it with my own eyes. Their soldiers, their terrorists have run for cover, leaving all of their ammunition in place. However, it is not yet out of commission. Hezbollah's senior ranks have been eliminated. Its leaders hiding in Iran, afraid for his own life, and its ability to carry out an October 7th style massacre has been destroyed. But as we saw with that rocket that exploded this morning next to a preschool, Hezbollah remains a threat. Hezbollah continues to fire Iranian rockets at Israeli cities and towns. Since Hezbollah refuses to back off, the Israel Defense Forces is going to continue to operate in Lebanon in order to push Hezbollah away so that Israelis, close to 100,000 Israelis, can return to the home they haven't seen in over a year. Recently, the IDF published some CCTV video that it found on Hamas computers in Gaza. The video is shocking. It shows hundreds of hours of Hamas interrogators torturing Gazan people. Men and women are hung upside down, their feet poking out from bags where they struggle to breathe, as Hamas militants sit back laughing and whipping their bare feet with such cruelty. Their crimes? Criticizing Hamas, the same Hamas which has made their lives a living hell. Make no mistake, Hamas is a death cult. It does not allow dissent. In fact, a news crew from Israel's Channel 12 was just inside Gaza, speaking to local Gazans on the street. This is an example of what they had to say. May God take revenge on Hamas. One family says, Hamas took our son. Another, Hamas ruined our lives. Hamas took away our aid. Hamas shot at us. One courageous woman speaking to the news crew stood out and she said, Hamas will shoot me for speaking to you. I'm a martyr because I talked to you. But that woman felt that the message was important to reach us and to reach you, the world. Are we going to listen to the people of Gaza who explain and describe that Hamas is not only a terrorist regime for Israel, they don't only burn American flags, they are terrorists for any innocent people, even the people in Gaza. Anyone who speaks out against Hamas risks being executed or worse. Israel is under enormous international pressure to leave Hamas in power in Gaza. Make no mistake, if Hamas remains in power, those same Gazan people, those who criticize the regime, they will be the first to suffer. They will be pounding at the gates of Israel or at your country's border, begging to be let in. If you are pro-Hamas, then you are supporting a regime that tortures innocent Gazans as well as innocent Israelis. Hamas can never be allowed in any way, shape, or form to govern any territory ever again. Over the past 2 decades, Israel was pressured not to topple Hamas. Leaving Hamas on its feet doesn't only condemn Israel's people to Hamas murder, it abandons Gazans to suffer under Hamas cruelty. Let's not forget this is a message for all. If you're kind to the cruel, you will be cruel to the kind. There's no two ways about it. If a person supports Hamas and they're kind to the cruel, they're going to be cruel to Israelis, to the innocent people of Gaza, and to other innocent people around the world that Hamas is just waiting to attack, whether it's in the streets of Amsterdam, the streets of the United States, London, Spain, or France. We have to remember, being cruel has its impact. Being cruel to those people who you think are going to save the day when they're actually targeting innocent people, that does not work, does not add up. In recent weeks, I was serving as a reservist in Lebanon. I saw it with my own eyes, the massive infrastructure that Hezbollah had on our border that would have enabled it to carry out an October 7th style massacre. The IDF has destroyed Hezbollah's capability to operate on Israel's border and invade our cities and towns. However, the big question is, why are we not seeing more of this on the news? Western journalists have reported in the past on how Hezbollah is intimidating journalists. In 2006, during the Second Lebanon War, CNN reported that when one of its crews attempted to film a Hezbollah weapons cache in a civilian area, they were threatened by Hezbollah terrorists. A journalist from The Guardian reported how Hezbollah fighters physically stopped them from filming Hezbollah launches. In 2016, UN forces in Lebanon were detained, which means they were held at gunpoint by Hezbollah in order to stop them from investigating Hezbollah's construction of terror facilities. In 2010, Hezbollah killed a nosy UN peacekeeper and wounded several others. An Irish UN soldier was murdered by Hezbollah in 2022. Hezbollah's coercion shows a pattern of intimidation. It is also true of Hamas in the Gaza Strip. Western audiences need to understand Lebanon and Gaza and much of the world are not free countries. Western media or international organizations or individual people who tell the truth about the terrorists are subject to reprisals from the terrorists. Israel is a free country, open to observation and criticism by anyone. In fact, one of the reasons for the disproportionate criticism of Israel is that Israel is the only place in the entire region that allows criticism. Finally, today, Israel opened yet another new aid crossing into Gaza. Israel is flooding Gaza with aid. The new crossing is called Kisufim and began passing through the crossing today. Gaza's other border crossings with Israel remain open. Keren Shalom in the south, Gate 96 in the north, and also Erez West and Erez East crossings in the north. There continued to be a focus on aid to northern Gaza, where Israel's forces have been engaged in heavy combat to stop Hamas from rebuilding there. Hundreds of food packages and thousands of liters of water were delivered to civilians in northern Gaza who haven't left to humanitarian zones. This follows last week's 11 trucks of food, water, and medical supplies to the area. Since October, 741 aid trucks entered northern Gaza. Together with the World Health Organization, Israel helped 244 Gazan patients and companions evacuate from hospitals in northern Gaza only over the past month. 50,000 liters of fuel, 180 blood units, and hundreds of boxes of medical supplies and food were delivered to the northern Gaza hospitals. Approximately 900 trucks worth of aid are waiting inside Gaza, waiting to be picked up by aid organizations. Some of the aid has been sitting there for months. Israel is flooding Gaza with so much aid that the United Nations is drowning under it. Instead of pretending there's not enough aid being sent to Gaza, which is not true, the United Nations needs to do its job and collect the overflowing aid and give it to the Gazan people, not to Hamas's terrorists, to the people of Gaza who need it the most. The UN needs to scale up and stop pointing the finger at Israel. Let's take some questions from our audience watching live on social media.
Thank you, Doron. I'm going to combine two questions that we're getting a lot from our viewers on Instagram, which is, what do you think of the reports of Qatar backing out of its mediation role? And when do you think we'll hear some good news about the fate of the hostages in Gaza?
Oh, first of all, regarding Qatar, what we can see is that Qatar issued an order for the Hamas leadership, who've been sheltering there for dozens of years, that they have a clock ticking and they have to leave their country, which is a very important positive step. That Hamas leadership, 3 people who are worth $12 billion, meaning there's no aid, according to them, in Gaza. And the Gazan people are poor. Meanwhile, 3 people, the leaders of Hamas, sitting in Qatar, are sitting on $12 billion. That's from foreign news reports, not Israeli reports. Qatar issuing an order for them to leave their country is a step in the right direction. We hope that Qatar, we've been saying this from the very beginning, is going to pressure Hamas to release our hostages, 101 of which are sitting deep underneath the ground in those terror dungeons. It's about time they get their act together. We ask them and the rest of the world, pressure Hamas to bring the Israeli hostages home.
Our next question comes from Akiva, who sent this via our Instagram stories. What are your thoughts on the incoming Trump administration, and what do you expect from the US government in the months and the year ahead?
The incoming Trump administration, as well as the existing Biden administration, for Israelis, we are looking towards the United States for support and for friendship. Since October 7th, no 2 countries see eye to eye in 100% of anything. That's why they're 2 separate countries. But our friendship with the United States has shown its true colors. We have worked together. Our coordination on an intelligence level is at an all-time high, and we are really working towards the same goal. Now that the elections are behind us, Israel can state clearly, our goal is to protect the free world. Israel happens to be the first country on the border with regimes like Hamas, Hezbollah, and Iran. However, these same countries are dedicated to extinguishing what they see as the Western world. That means countries throughout the West that believe in freedom. All of these countries, Hezbollah, Hamas, Lebanon, Syria, Iran, Iraq, all of the others, are despotic regimes in which people have no freedom, no ability to vote. And if they are able to vote, there's only one person running. Therefore, we have to be very, very clear. Israel is the only independent, free country in this entire region, and we need to be judged as such. And every US administration knows this about Israel, which is why the American people support Israel, and all the polls show that they support Israel unanimously.
Doron, this is our last question today. It comes from Adina on Instagram. There are a lot of reports that Jews and Israelis are in danger around the world, that people are targeting them. Should Jews be wary of more attacks around the world after Amsterdam? What happened in Amsterdam? What are your thoughts on this?
Sadly, I think that the safest place, first of all, the answer to that question is yes. I think, sadly, that Jews around the world do have to be extremely careful. We saw that what happened on Thursday night in Amsterdam at the end of a sports game where mobs attacked Jews and Israelis, tackling people, punching people, kicking them on the ground. 10 people were seriously injured. And this is only because they were Jewish. They went around asking people, are you Jewish? Are you Israeli? I mean, it brings back images of the Holocaust of 1945. And the fact is, it took hours and hours for the Dutch police to kind of crack down on those riots. And even yesterday, last night, there were a second series of riots where mobs ran throughout Amsterdam, burnt down one of the trains that were on the train tracks, and they yelled, Jews are cancer, Jews are cancer. With all this happening, the only place that I believe a Jew can be 100% certain that the government is there protecting them is Israel. And anywhere else in the world, a Jew is walking, you have to keep your eyes out. It's a sad reality, but we know that truth, and we know that most people in the world are not like this, and we're hoping the world will wake up and protect the Jewish people, provide safety and security like they do for all other people. I want to thank everyone for tuning in today and joining us. We are live every day at 3 p.m. Israel time, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We ask you to log in and join us on social media across all of your platforms. Think of your questions for tomorrow. We'll see you then. Thank you.